Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Ted, your coach of the Sky Strikers, and I'm bringing you guys once again for the power rankings for the VDL-S week number one, I believe. No, week two, sorry. Week two, guys. So as you guys can see, all the matches are on the screen, so you guys can follow along while I go over the matchups. And sadly, for this week, I'm by myself. Unfortunately, everybody else is busy, so I've taken the responsibility of doing power rankings, just so everybody's not disappointed and everybody forgets about it. So let's start. All right, so the first matchup we have the Morenci Morpecos up against the Georgia Gherkins, and the Gherkins were able to pick up the 2-1 win here. So let's review the matchup here. Now this was recorded, so I've watched the matchup and given my pre-analysis of it. Um, I felt like for all three games, I think the Morpecos had a solid game plan of using Trick Room to set up like further Pokemon like Escavalier and Dragalge. However, I do like the usage of Blastoise on the Gurchin side, being able to pick up the game one win with that. So and indirect damage with Gmax candidate is always helpful to chip down the opposing Pokemon, especially in Trick Room. And then in game two, I think again the Trick Room for the Morpecos was excellent that game. Um, Escavalier just picking up KOs very quickly, and Dragalge and Aromatisse helping out. Same thing with Indeedee male or Indeedee female, sorry. Um, and then game three, I guess it all came down to the Blastoise and the Trigger on the opposing side, just like the first two games. Um, and the Blastoise was able to help out with Gmice candidates. So yeah, there's not really much else to be said about this game. It was just basically a game of whether the Morpecos could use the trick room efficiently, and the Blastoise setting up the candidate to do enough chip for the other Pokemon on his team to pick up KOs very fast. So with that being said, let's move on to the second match. Um, we have the Nova Scotia Scythers up against the Athens Alcremie, and the Alcremies picked up the 2-0 win here. Um, I don't think this match was particularly recorded. I'm if I did miss the Scythers matchup, if they did post it on YouTube, I apologize for that. I probably didn't see it. But just going by from what the kill chart says here, um, the Nihiliga went pretty well in this game. That's expected because it goes pretty well into Charizard, and the Gudra having coverage for the Gudra. Um, Being able to take on the Togepi as well is very crucial there. And then other supporting pieces like the Ninetales, Metagross, and Hydreigon did really well both games. So that is kind of expected. It's a pretty one-sided match. Um, so yeah, there's not a lot to say about this game. Um, really unfortunate for the Scythers because I think they have a really good team. And I'll visit that back in the next part of the video after I go over the different matchups here. So yeah, let's move on to the next one. Next up, we have the Cardiff Kamalas up against the Shadow Ducks, and the Kamalas took the 2-0 win here. Um, Pretty simple as well. It's it's basically Rain Team versus Rain Team in a way. Tornades and Cardiff setting up the Rain Dance both games. For the Ludicolo, um, is pretty much obvious. And the same thing on the other side. They have Pelipper with the Barraskewda to set up Rain for the Barraskewda to potentially sweep. However, I don't think that went well because Ludicolo is obviously a good counter for that Barraskewda, so that's expected there. Um, and then game two, it looks like he decided to lead on the Kling Klang and the Trinace Incarnate a little bit more, um, which is fine because they did lead the psychic terrain with Tapu Lele and the Sorlix for Unburden, so that's expected as well. But props to the Kamalas. I like to see underused low tier mons being used with the Kling Klang, so always good. But yeah, let's move on to the next matchup. Next up, we have the South Croydon Soars. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Up against the Sacramento Sandslash, and the Soars took the 2-0 win. Um, I think it's also another pretty simple match. The Sandslash took a surprising win last week with their Trick Room mode with Raichu, which was surprising. If you guys didn't watch the power rankings last week, go watch that before you watch this video. Um, but anyways, I think they utilized Alakazam and PZ a little bit better. Game one, PZ probably being the max option. I think, yeah, it was the max option in game one. Correct me if I'm wrong. Um, Being able to take out like the Palace Land and the Togekiss pretty early was good. Um, and for the end game, I think Conkeldurr and Silver couldn't really take on the power of PZ without like a Mach Punch, which we did see, and the Drain Punch. So yeah, that's pretty simple there. And then game two, the Source decided to rely on the Slurpuff and the Steelix a little bit more, with the support of Alakazam and Machamp, which is alright. But I did think the Sandslash sled a little bit better for game two, um, which was okay, but sadly again, like Slurpuff and Steelix are too good here into this particular matchup. So props to the stores picking up their first win of the season. So looking forward to what they do. But moving on, we have the Ox Diggersbys up against the Waterloo Warriors, and the Warriors took the 2-0 win here. Um, I don't think. Actually, no. I think this was uploaded. I didn't watch it. Um, so I can't really say much other than that. Salamence went in both games, picking up a total of 7 kills, combined in both games. Which was which is not surprising because Salamence is a pretty decent or pretty good Dynamaxmon paired up with the Grimmsnarl for prankster screens. Um, but interesting from the Deersley side, they decided to lead both all Buzzwole, Dugtrio, Alola, Tapu Fini, and Torracat both games. Um, I would like to find out what they did lead for both games, particularly. Um, but yeah, not surprised from the Salamence getting that many kills, especially into this team. Um, Other than the Tapu Fini, does pretty well against the other three. So yeah, nothing else to be said about that. But yeah, let's move on to the next matchup. Sorry if I'm rushing a little bit. Anyways, next up we have the Suffolk Suicunes up against the Pogging Porygons, and the Porygons took 2-0 win here. Um, this was not uploaded, yeah. But pretty simple. Regigigas game, pretty good, really OP. Um, However, I did get a little bit of information from the Suicune side, that the lead for Wheezing Regigigas was kind of hard to stop. They couldn't really do much, so again, that is expected, but you can work around it. So I'd like to see how other teams manage this team, with the Regigigas and how they work around it. So this is a great reminder of what not to do. But no offense to the Suicunes, but uh, there's always a way to work around Regigigas, but again, it's always hard to do that. But yeah, again, good games to the Porygons. Regigigas was really good in this game. But moving on, we have the Dallas Zygardes up against the Snowball Blizzards. The Zygardes took the 2-1 win here. Um, this was streamed, so I did manage to watch the whole stream, or actually not the whole stream. I think I watched up to midpoint. So unfortunate I didn't see the last game here. But I did see the Gothita Lapras core for that particular combo with Rock Tomb Weakness Policy in Trick Room. Did pretty well. Game one. Uh, However, they did lose that game, but they did manage to come back game two. With that again with that Gothita Lapras core, I think is really good. Um, but again, I think what the Zygardes brought with Tailwind Fletchling with Gale Wings was good in both games. And then the third game with support on Togedemaru and Volcarona being able to sweep was really good and caught them off guard, I think. Or I should watch the stream back, but I think Togedemaru and Volcarona were able to catch the Blizzards off guard there. So, yeah, really interesting game. But again, not surprised. But moving on, we have the Midland Miramax taking the 2-1 win here against the Celadon Stivals, and I'm going to take a drink of water so I can refill myself. Um, I think this game in particular, um, it's a battle of both of the two Rotom forms, Mo versus Heat. Um, but I think utilizing the Regirock with Riolu game one was fantastic for the Miramax, but I think the downfall to that is that the Gastrodon kind of walls the game one lead there, so that's expected there, along with support Clefable with Follow Me. And then game two, having the Obstagoon in the back, I think Obstagoon in the back, um, being able to, get the Defiant boost if it was Defiant from the Arcanine, um, is pretty essential. So a good on that, and from what I see here on the website. And then game three, being able to utilize the Tapu Bulu and Rotom Heat is great. From what I see, goes well into the Scizor, and Tapu Bulu deals with Gastrodon as well. So yeah, all 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 things considered, I think it's a pretty good game. Um, I wish this was recorded so I can see. Sadly, it's not, so I can't really say much. Yeah. Moving on. Obviously, this next game uh, has not been played yet, but it will be this upcoming weekend. Just to let you guys know. So if there's anything missing on the slides that I'm going to show later on, this is the reason why there's a missing game. Um, but uh, but other than that, next up we have the Tyranitar Sauces up against the Atletico de Malwell in the Malwell's 2-0 win here. Um, Honestly, this was not a surprise for me because I did expect Tom, which he coaches, or he's the coach of the Malwells. I did expect him to come back this week, and he did. So that's great on him. Sudowoodo kind of goes hard into both teams for both games, so I was glad to see that. Um, and Diggersby kind of goes hard as well. Um, so not really surprised there. The trick room mode was great into his team. He Dynamax Amoga both times, which I was kind of confused there. Well, actually, no, I think he Dynamaxed the Garbodor. I think he Dynamaxed. No, he didn't. No, he didn't Dynamax Garbodor both games. He Dynamaxed the Amoga both games. Again, I'm a little bit iffy on this because I haven't watched the game in a while. But that was kind of, I mean, it was alright because he had I think he had weakness policy of Amoga on there, to potentially KO the Sudowoodo, but he didn't get the policy proc off. both times. So unfortunate for the sauces, but great games to the Mauliles and picking up their first win. Next up, we have the Oslo Berserkers up against the Singapore Sligoos, and the Berserkers took the 2-0 win here. Um, Again, not really surprised. Top rated team, number one team in the division currently, the VDL-S currently. I did not watch this game, so I apologize, Calypsia, if I didn't if I mess up a few things up here. Um, but yeah, I think they utilized Trick Room here. I think particularly in game two, not in game one. But last year kind of goes hard here as well. Now Colossal is a problem. Uh, if they had gone that for game one, but it looks like in game two was an issue. Last year took care of that there. So not surprised there. But back to game one, I think Dynamaxing the Suicune was honestly really great. Um, Being a bulky Suicune with like Max Geyser, Max Airstream, probably Max, I think Max Hailstorm potentially with a Max Guard, or those are my predictions there. Was honestly really good on his part. I assume the Sliggoo's Dynamax either the Urshifu or the Electivire. I'll have to look back on the video for that, but yeah, great part to Calypsia Dynamaxing the Suicune game one. Um, so yeah, uh, and then final game of week two, is our premiere. I was up against Brian, coach of the Charlotte Beatrels, and obviously up against me, the Sky Structures. And I took the 2-1 win here. Um, I think looking back on this matchup, game one, I probably didn't lead the best with the Latios and the Seismitoad and Dynamaxing it immediately with the Seismitoad. I probably should have attacked and then with the Latios instead of setting up Tailwind to break the sash on the Indeedee. Um, but yeah, I think other than that, I think I played an alright game one. It's just that my back 2 months, King's Con Celestial, weren't particularly great, and to the Moltres and the Rotom Wash. So yeah, super unfortunate there in game one, but you learn from these experiences. And then the final two games, obviously game two, I let Celesteela just go off with Decorate. Um, I got a few crits in there, but some of them don't matter in this game. I think all of them don't matter in the game. So yeah, but letting Celesteela go off there was really good and a great comeback for game two. And then game three came down to positioning. Um, I think I led all right with the Alcremie Seismitoad. I did get a crit into the Lucario with the Max Geyser, but again, I don't think that really mattered. And then in the end, I just stalling out the Maxer Bombi for max overgrowths until the Mate trick was good and keeping it alive for Celesteela to prevent Thunderfang from Crocodile. So, and then in the end, Celesteela just wrapped up game three and got me the win. So, yeah, I think it's a really good games to Brian. But I was glad I was able to pick up the week two win. But anyways, that covers all the matchups for for this week. So yeah, I'll move on to the PowerPoint here. Um, do this. Oops, sorry guys. There you go. Let's slideshow. All right, so here we are, week two power rankings. First team up at number 24 are the Nova Scotia Scythers. They're 0-2 and -4. Um, I think it's really unfortunate that they can't utilize the Gudra and the Kofi a lot than I like them to. Because I did mention this last week, in last week's power rankings, that I would like to see the Gudra Kofi a little bit more, and they did do that week 2, but um, not to a good extent here. And it's really such a good team, and I hate that it's ranked low here. Um, but again, really unfortunate. Hoping uh, this upcoming week 3, or towards that, we're at the time of this recording, uh, we're towards the end of week 3. So I'm just really hoping that they do pick up a win week 3, and you know, have a bounce back towards the middle of the season. And I don't think they had to make any trades, honestly. I think the team is fine. They have good redirection. They have good support with the Comfy, um, Kobalion, and the Gujar, great offensive pressures. Same thing with Charizard. So I think it's a well-rounded team. I just feel like the execution for both weeks weren't that great. So I'm looking forward to what they do uh, during this week. Um, but yeah, moving on to 23, we have the Snowball Blizzards. They're 0-2 and -3. Again, it's one of those teams that I would like to see a little bit more from. Um, Obviously, the Cinderace and Aerodactyl are great Dynamax options. Beware as well, along with a Lapras. Again, I think it's an execution issue here. Um, but again, like it's not really a hard team to navigate. I think the Trick Room option here is great. And continuing utilizing that Gothita Lapras core together in Trick Room with the Rock Tomb tech, along with Weakness Policy, is really great. And again, Cinderace is a really, really massive threat in this format. So um, probably utilizing that a little bit more and keeping up with that combo should pick up a few more wins in the right matchups. Next up at number 22, we have the Singapore Sligoos. Um, they did make a trade for this upcoming week 3. They trade the Ivysaur for the War Turtle, which is, I think it's great. Adds another water type to proc Colossals or Cradale's ability with Aquajet. And again, it's another support option, but I think overall, again, it's another team that suffers from execution and the positioning of your your leads a little bit. But I think overall, it's another great team that I hate to rank low, but just because of how the first 2 weeks went, is just ranked really low here. So yeah, I'd like to see a little bit more from this colossal team going forward. But yeah, moving on to rank 21, we have the Shadow Ducks. They're 0-2 and -4. Um, it's gonna be pardon me, guys. It's gonna be the same for a lot of these teams. Like a lot of these teams are really good, and I just hate that I had to rank them low all the way down here. But is just the way that coaches operate their teams, and I know like I'm not the one coaching the team, or not. I shouldn't say coaching, but I'm not the one, uh, you know, playing with these Pokemon in battles. So it's up to the coaches whether or not they can change their strategies or make trades. So yeah. But again, I think this is another good team with the Tapu Lele, the Whimsicott, Bearscuda, and the Pelipper. Um, and again, like their support options are really great. Behem is a decent trick room setter. Pangoros, Centiskorch, Galvantula, and Pangoro are all great, Dynamax options. Well, minus the Galvantula, but those other three are great options to max outside of Barraskewda. And Magneton and the Swirlix are great options as well for support. Obviously, Swirlix works in Psychic Terrain with Unburden, so Yeah. Again, I'd just like to see a little bit more in the cup in the upcoming weeks. Hopefully, they can pick up a couple wins here. Let me take a sip of water, guys. Um, Next up, we have the Milan Werewolves. They rised up from all the way at the bottom from 24, and they came up 4 spots to number 20. They're 1-1 and -1. Um, like I mentioned before in their matchup, I think utilizing the Regirock and the other low tier options with Starmie and the Tapu Bulu was great on them. Um, yeah, I think overall they were able to. Hopefully they took the power rankings very lightly and be able to turn themselves back for from week one and pick up a win week two. So yeah, I'm glad the team was able to pick up a win. So we'll see how they do, how they fare well in the other weeks. But yeah, I think overall, like the Regirock, Dracozold, Riolu, Obstagoon, Starmie, Rotom and the Tapu Bulu are all great options for this team as well. Riolu supports pretty much every Pokemon on his team. Um, Obstagoon and the Heracross are great secondary, out of max options for attack. And the Audino and the Lantern are great support. Same thing with support Starmie, with Icy Wind, I guess Trick Room as well, um, and support Rotom as well. So yeah, great win for the Marowaks, and I'm looking forward to what they do in the following weeks. Next up, we have the Athens Alchemy. They're 1-1 +1. They did pick up the win here, so it's another great team that I like with the Metagross and Hydreigon. I think those two in particular are really well in Dynamax. Um, but like I mentioned before in their match, the Nihilego was another great secondary max option with Beast Boost, being able to set it up is great. Alola Ninetales with screens obviously is great, especially with this team that doesn't like to take hits, super effective hits really well. So screens definitely helps with that. And then the Wishy-Washy Dusknoir again is another option I like to mention because Wishy-Washy can sweep in Trick Room if put in the right situation. So there's that, and obviously support from the Serena, Magmortar, Wigglytuff, Rotom, and even Throw with coaching are all great support options for this team. So again, I'm looking forward to what they do in the following weeks. Um, Next up, we have the again. This team got replaced, or is replacing the New York Nihilegos. Introducing Gert, coach of the Old English Ice Cubes. Again, he's a returning veteran to VDL-S. Um, but yeah, I can't really say much about the team because he hasn't played any games yet. Or he will be at the time of this recording. He will be playing uh, his games there. So I'll review his team probably next week in next week's power rankings. But for now, this is the team that he has, and he didn't make trades, so I'll cover those trades next week. So yeah, moving on to rank number 17. We have the Morency Morpekos. They're 1-1 +0. Um, they did lose week two to one of the top rated teams, so it's expected there. But I think they utilized the trigger mode obviously really well. I think that's their strong suit for this team. But again, um, the Ndidi Hitmonlee with Burden is always a great option as well. Blacephalon can Dynamax as well, another great max option. And the same thing with Rakonid and Trick Room. It's another great, it's a dangerous max option, I would say. And the same thing with Dragalge and Trick Room. So obviously a lot of good Trick Room mons. Um, but I guess the one thing I would critique about this team is that I would like probably to see a little bit more speed, other than Gale Wings, Tailwind, and Bird and Hitmonlee. Because outside of Blescephalon, there's not really anything too fast. Morpeko is decently fast with a base 95, 97 speed, but like outside of those two monsters, there's not really much speed. So maybe in trades they could pick up something really fast, but I think overall their Trick Room core is really good. So they'll probably they'll lean on that a little bit more going forward. Um, Next up, ranked at 16, the Suffolk Suicunes. They've fell down really hard here, pun intended. Um, they're 0-2 and -4. Um, Again, it's another team that's really good, but sadly had to fall because they lost pretty badly. Or I don't want to say anything, but they lost. Um, they fell pretty hard, I should say. Um, but I think um, outside of that, I think the team is still good. The Rancor with Virizion, Registeel, Politoed, and the Tornadus. It's obviously great. I think the support option with Porygon and Salazzle, Articuno, and Weezing Galar is great. And then with Sharpedo, Dugtrio, and Gallade are obviously other secondary non-max options whenever you're about to end the game. So sorry about that. But yeah, I think the team is still great. Again, I would just like to revisit probably getting rid of one of the poison types. Probably not Salazzle because you're fast, you're only fake out user, and it's really fast and provides good utility. But I would potentially like to get rid of the Wheezing in particular. I know it's your only fairy type on this team, but I think probably getting rid of it for something else that fits better on this team would be great. But yeah, other than that, I think it's still a great team. But yeah, we'll just have to see going forward. Next up, rank 15, we have the Torrentor Sauces. They're 0-2, -4 as well. I guess, outside of just, Spectre and Durant, there are not really many great maxed options. Um, Now, Garbodor has a decently good uh, Gigantamax form. It can do great if put in the right situation. And Amoga is also a great Dynamax option as well. It's the only problem with it is that it's really frail, and you always have to be running uh, a type resist berry most of the time. So that's the one thing that's happening there. And the same thing with Falapple. Falapple can be really good, especially like under gravity with Tussle. So there's that. But I think overall, I think the team can still do great. With the Clefairy and Durant and Spectre, along with Persian and Lola. I think those four can basically carry the team, and the rest can do their own support options. Um, but yeah, I'm just really hoping Saki can turn this around. Please, please, Saki, do this for me. But yeah, moving on to rank 14, we have the Alex Diggersbys. They're 1-1 and -1. They did lose here week 2, so unfortunate there. But I still think they can turn it around. I think like Regieleki and Regidrago are obviously both good Reggie Pokemon. I think both paired well together. Um, and I think the support options are fantastic. When obviously Continuity is not Whimsicott, so it doesn't get Tailwind. Um, and Torga obviously provides Intimidate, Parting Shot, Fake Out, a few things there. Tapu Fini is a you know a great Dynamax one. It can be, and is a great Atomax mon. So there's that, and the same thing with Buzzwole. I think it's a fantastic uh, Dynamax mon if you can put it in the right situation with Beast Boost. And again, there are a lot of good options here with Dugtrio, Lola. Charger Bug even does its own thing with battery. Um, but again, I like to revisit the one problem I don't really like in this team is that, and that's the Pheasant. I would probably like to see a better um Tailwind user. But again, I know like points or tiers are kind of hard to, flip around and get in and look for another Tailwind user. But if there is another Tailwind user, I would like to see them pick up a better one other than a Pheasant. Um, but yeah, I think other than that, I think it's a pretty good team. Um, and we'll just see what happens moving forward. Take a sip of water here. Next up, at number 13, we have the Celadon Stuffles. They're 1-1 plus one. Um, Again, that's another great team. Um, they did pick up a loss here, um, but I still think again it's another team that can going forward can still pick up a lot of wins because again like Arcanine, Mantine, Rotom, Tyrantrum, and even Gastrodon are all good max options, along with the support of Clefairy with Follow Me. And, even Prankster Impidimp is still pretty useful, even though it doesn't have screens. Can still be pretty useful. And a Rangaroo for the Trick Room side of things. Um, Definitely helps with this team. I like it a lot. I think the semi rain mode is great as well. But again, they have to keep in mind for they do bring Mantine and Gastrodon together. They have to keep in mind with the Storm Drain. So yeah, there's that. But I think overall the team is pretty good, and I'm looking forward to what they do moving forward. Uh, Next up, we have the Waterloo Warriors. They're ranked 12 and our first 2-0 team plus 4. Um, they only moved up one spot, if I'm correct. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. They did move up one spot here. Um, but again, like I think this team is another great team. Um, the Salamence obviously picking up a lot of kills this week. Um, but out of that, I still really do like the trigger mode here with Rio Nicholas, Trevenant, Mudsdale, even with alongside Gravesnarl with screens. All of that is really good. A fast fake out user with Lopunny is great. Um, Now I haven't seen Flinks do a lot yet, but it did come. I believe it did come this week. Um, I have to look back on this footage whenever I look at it towards the end. I believe it still did. He did bring Flinks this week, so um, maybe using it Flinks a little bit more would be great, honestly. Um, but yeah, I think overall the team is great, um, even though it's ranked outside of the top 10. Moving on to number 11, or sorry about that, number 11, we have the Atletico de Malos. They're 1-1 and plus 0. Um, I think, again, like I mentioned last week, I think it's another, team that can have success. Obviously, the Sun mode with Sableye and Gigantamax Venusaur is a good option. Alongside with Zapdos, Diggersby, Jangmo, or not Jangmo, sorry, Komodo. Um, Again, are all good Dynamax options. But even like the low tiers, with Sudowoodo, um, Clawitzer, Flareon, and Cryogonal, all good lower tier support options that can also max. So, and Monwell with Intimidate, obviously, is a great thing there. So I think the team is still well rounded, like I said last week, and they can definitely, come back to win the whole league. I think is something that They can do. Um, yeah, that's it for the Mawels and moving into the top 10 and sorry, moving into the top 10. And first off, we have the Dallas Zygardes. They're 2-0 plus 3. Um like I mentioned last week for this team, they did get a forfeit win, but being able to see them in action um, this week on stream was a great insight into what they do. Um, Obviously, utilizing the guard chopper Primarina with Miastic and Volcarona was great. Um, and having Togedemaru and Flexling do their thing, with fake out Spiky Shield, Iron Head, Zing Zap, just to name a few moves, and Tailwind on Fletchling, being able to get that off and be fast immediately is great. Maractus, even Avalug, is great decently in Trick Room with Kofagrigus, and then Persian, Alola, and Zoroark are pretty fast. One being a fast fake out user, and the other can be a really fast special attacker. So um, there's that to consider. But yeah, other than that, I think I want to see a little bit more probably from them before I can rank them a little bit higher. But for now, I think rank 10 is really deserving here. But yeah, moving on to number 9. Keep doing that, messing up the buttons. We have the Pogging Porygons. They're 1-1 and plus 0. Um, I think they kind of showed what they can do this week with the Regigigas and the Wheezing. I think if they can continue leaning on that, is great. But again, like I mentioned before, um, there are ways to get out of it, and there's ways to counter it. So there's that. But even another mode with Klefki and the Moltres, being able to set up screens to help protect the Moltres from any super effective damage or any damage normally is great for it to retain its bulk and its HP, and just go to town with max airstream and max darkness, those things of that nature. And the other options, Heliolisk, Slowbro, and the Laurentis are technically pretty decent Dynamax options, but I think they're excellent out of max, especially in Trick Room, and Contrary is dangerous. If you're trying to lowering attack on the Rich Gigas or speed. Um, and then the other three mons, Hitmonchan, uh, the what's it, Lampent, and the Basculin are great options as well outside of Max, and obviously Hitmonchan provides fake out for that. But yeah, I think overall it's a pretty decent team. It's a 1-1 team that's pretty ranked high. But again, it's on this week. It's just me doing this recording, so is what I think personally. Moving on, we have rank 8 minus 1, or sorry, rank 8 1-1 plus 1. Um, Again, it's another team that made trades. They traded the Sylveon for the Haxorus. Um, I think that was a I think that was on a pretty decent trade because they do complete that fantasy core with Steelix, Haxorus, and the and the Slurpuff. Um, I think that was a good trade there. Um, but yeah, overall this week they were able to utilize um, the Slurpuff a little bit more alongside the PZ, which was something I wanted to see from them. So I'm glad they were able to show that this week. Um, and Steelix and Alakazam continue to be great for this team as well. So again, no complaints here. I think if they continue going on the same path, I think they can pick up a lot of wins this season. So looking forward to that. Next up, rank 7, we have the Ninja Squirtles. They did fall because, again, there are a lot of good teams going forward from here. So, again, it's starting at this point right here. There are a lot of good teams. So, um, and again, they didn't play this week, so that's why it still says 1-0 plus 2. So there's that. But again, I think, like I mentioned last week, I think this top half of the team with the Landorus, Crobat, Darmanitan, Milotic, Sceptile, um, Scrafty, and the Toxtricity is great. Um, but I think the bottom row, outside of Ditto, doesn't really do much for this team. I would like to see trades for that. Like, desperately, I want to see trades for that until proven otherwise. So um, there's that to consider. But I think this team can still be in the top 10. Obviously, I put it at rank 7. Still a great team. So we'll just see how well they do in the two matchups they have to do um, for makeup for makeups week 2 and week 3. So we'll see what happens there next week. But yeah, moving on to rank 6. We have the Cardiff Kamalas. They are 2-0 plus 4. Um, again, it's another. I'm gonna say this a lot. It's another good team. Um, obviously, the rain core with uh, Tornadus and the Ludicolo is great. Being able to support the Kling Kling there for Trick Room, and Incineroar, Inteleon, and Raikou are great max options actually. Surprisingly, but Max Incineroar is great. I think in this format particularly. But support options, Buffalant, uh, Claydol, Fungus, even the Grapplock are great support options along with Omastar for Swift Swim there. And again, Buffalant is the other great max option. You can't really activate Sap Super here because you don't have like a Comfey with Triage and Giga Drain there, but I think like it's still a pretty great max option with max strikes, max knuckles, those of that nature. But yeah, overall, I really like this team. I'm looking forward to what they can do. And next up, heading into the top 5, we have the Sacramento Sandslash that did fall a few spots down, 2 spots, I believe. But they're 1-1 plus 0. Um, again, it's another team that does Trick Room really well. Um, Bronzong being the main Trick Room setter here, obviously. With Turtonator and Pilosland, is great, along with the Conkeldurr. Those 3 are really good in Trick Room. But outside of that, I think the Pilosland and the and the Excelgor obviously is a obvious combo with Water Compaction, Weakness Policy set with Water Shuriken. But their fast mode is decently well as usual, particularly with the Togekiss, Gengar, and the Raichu. Um, but yeah, other than that, I think the team is pretty solid. This team could fall. Just looking at type matchup wise. But I think they'll be all right. Going forward, they could make a few trades, but other than that, I think the team is good. And moving on to number 4, or whoops, we now have number 4. Oh, sorry for the typo, guys. um, Number 4 are the Charlotte Beedrills. They're 1-1 plus 1. Um, I did beat them, which is a little bit surprising for me, but I think the team is still great. Obviously, Dragapult, um, is a great support. It could be a utility mon. It can be a great max option, um, along with Ndidi for support as well. Same with the Rabambi, Lucario, um, Moltres, and Crocodile are other great max options. And then the rest of the Pokemon are great. You know, no max mons. Rotom, Tentacruel, Leafeon, Glalie are all great no max mons. And even Lairon can do its own thing. I'm not sure what it can do yet. Um, but yeah, I think overall the team can still be great. Um, yeah, uh, I guess in terms of trades, they could probably potentially trade away the Lairon for something else, because they do already have a steel type on the team, and they could probably trade something away from it, if they decide not to use it. Um, but yeah, I think overall the team is still great. Jacopo is the anchor point of this team. So we'll just have to see moving forward. And number two, or number three, actually. Sorry, guys, because typos, dumb dumb mistake. Um, we have my team, the Sky Strikers. 2-0 plus three. Um, Again, I think I deserve no bias here. I promise, guys. Um, I think I deserve to be ranked this high. Just by determining how well I've been playing the past 2 weeks. Obviously, Celesteela is doing wonders for this team. Being the main max option, but along with Seismitoad, Latios, Halucha, Piloswine, sorry guys, sorry, um, are all great max options, and then the support is great with Manectric, Prankster Screens with the Morgrim, and Scarf Decorate is obviously something I like to use with Alcremie, um, and then like the likes of like Thwacky and Heatmore can be great support options out of Max, or in Max for the Heatmore as well. So yeah, we'll just to see how the matchups go in these following weeks, because it is getting tough as the season is progressing. So we'll just have to see how well each player adapts to their team. But moving on to rank number two, we have the Georgia Gurchins. They're 2-0 plus three. Now I know it's quite weird having such a weird team up high, but I think they're deserving to be ranked this high. Being able to utilize the Blastoise this week, with Max Candidate is great for Chip. Um, Obviously, having the trigger mode, with Orbeetle, Pincurchin, um, Carbink, are all great, trigger options. And then the redirection with the Tangrowth, being able to, you know, redirect moves away from the likes of like for Blastoise and Naganadale, um, is great there. And then Life Part in terrain with Electric Surge from Precursion is a really viable option here as well. So, and the Trinity Therian again is another good max option and a good tailwind setter. So, a lot of good stuff I like to see this team. Um, Again, I know it's quite biased this week because I don't have anybody else to co-host with me, but I think that they deserve to be ranked this high. And then finally but not least, we have the Oslo Berserkers. They're 2-0 and +4. Second straight week they are ranked one, and rightfully so. Um, they have a lot of good support options, but they have a lot of good max options. With Glacier, Suicune, Entei, um, Luxray, even Gorgeist, all good max options. And then on the support side, um, the what's its name? Forgive me, guys. Um, the Pheromosa. Sorry, I don't know. I keep blanking on these Pokemon's names. The Pheromosa is a great support option. With speed swap coaching, those things of that nature. Um, Cursula in Trick Room is great with that base 145 special attack. Um, and Mr. Rhymeson in Trick Room is great. Lanoon Galar is great for parting shot. The fast base 100 Pokemon is great for that as well. And then Fake Out with the Berserker and Mr. Mime there. And then Stonejourner provides, Power Spot and boosting your attacks for, the likes of Glastrier, Suicune, and the Entei. So a lot of good options I like to see. And let's see if they continue their dominance going forward from here. But with that being said, here are the all the rankings in order from 1 to 24. Um, Final notes here. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Um, sorry for sorry for the typos and mistakes here and there. I promise next week everything will be back in order, and hopefully we'll have somebody else joining me for the power rankings. Um, but yeah, guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Um, comment, and subscribe as what everybody says for these type of videos. Um, but yeah, hope everybody has a good night, day, evening, whatever wherever you guys are, and I'm looking forward to week 3 and see how everybody does. So until next time, peace.